I will. Good. We ready? Everybody? All right, everybody hear me? Good afternoon. Members of the media, special guests, and our bond committee, welcome and thanks for being here. It's a very important day because we have a very important election coming up. Early voting for the November election starts Monday. And on the ballot this year, we have a bond package to fix our streets. And it makes it even more important for folks in Lubbock to make sure they get out and vote. That starts Monday. You'll see a detail of all the arterial roads here up on this map. And I won't go into too much detail because we have folks that know way more about it than I do. But I want to introduce to you Dan Jackson, a member of the bond committee who is supporting this year's bond. Where did Dan go? Come on up, Dan.
Thanks, Benchy. As a lot of you know, last year I was very much against the road bond, and it was because there were a lot of wants on there in my eyes and not needs. And when Jared and Benji called and asked me to be part of the pack to promote this, I obviously asked a whole lot of questions and loved everything that I heard. So gave my full support backing this. I think there's three main things. You know, we're going to get 22 miles of new roads in Lubbock, Texas. Last year was only 11. So that's a big deal. Another thing is we have 4 major schools that have roads that have to be widened to have, you know, safe transportation for our children to go to school, which is a big deal. And we haven't had a road bond in Lubbock, Texas in 13 years. And we've seen unprecedented growth, and it's time that we jump out and start taking advantage of that growth and building for the future. And so I know that Benji's going to come back up here, and Casey's going to talk more about growth in the future.
So there's a lot of misconceptions about this year's bond from what we've heard out there. So we're here to clear the air on some of that and announce major support from some very important groups here in town. So please help me welcome Casey Doyle. He's chairman of this year's chairman of Lubbock Chamber of Commerce. Yes, I promised I'd do that, didn't I?
And I'm going to invite my friends, my counterparts. So I have Keith Toogood with the West Texas Home Builder Association. I have Colby Norris with the Lubbock Association of Realtors. Would you come up here with me as well? I have Tanner Noble. I think he's here. Not sure if he made it or not with the Apartment Association. I know that they're in support of this. I have Raylan Goswick with the Lubbock Professional Police Association. And I have Joseph Wallace with the Lubbock Professional Firefighter Association. And here's the deal. We're here today on a united front in support of this prop because we understand the importance of what it's doing in our city. Here's the thing. You know, we're no longer the city, which I think is unique. We're no longer the city where people say it takes 7 minutes to get somewhere. That's the thing of the past. We're now a city that takes 15 to 20 minutes, and it's because of a couple of things. It's because of growth. It's because of traffic. Now, this proposition is going to help a lot of these things, and there's 3 things that really stand out to me. These 3 things are safety, convenience, and opportunity. And I'll talk to you about what those 3 things mean to me in regards to neighborhoods, in regards to schools, in regards to business. Because right now, we have neighborhoods that do not have paved roads. Now, think about that. We have neighborhoods that have paved alleys, but we have neighborhoods in Lubbock that don't have paved roads. This bond is going to allocate about $5 million to help offset the need of what needs to happen in Lubbock to ensure that these roads and these neighborhoods get paved. Think about the families. When I say safety, unpaved roads, when I think about convenience, think about the convenience of living on a paved road compared to the inconvenience of living on an unpaved road. And just the opportunity for those neighborhoods. Well, $5 million of this proposition is going to be directly related to that. Think about our schools. We have schools that have 2-lane access points right now. So imagine drop-off, imagine pickup, when you're dropping off your kids at school and you got a 2-lane access road. If you've done that, you know it's a disaster. It's crazy. It's not fun. This is going to help alleviate a lot of that pressure. So right now we have 3 schools that are being impacted and several other ones, but this proposition is going to have a huge impact on our teachers, on our parents, on the kids. This is going to be a big deal. So teachers, there's no question about it. You got to get out here and vote for this proposition. You got to vote for it. And then I just want to talk about businesses. There's over 25 to 35 businesses that are directly related to these roads that are being impacted. Maybe not so much for the safety, but think about the opportunity, think about the convenience that they have for their clients or their customers that are going to be joining them or going to their stores to shop with them. These guys are, they're real excited about this proposition, and they know the importance of what it means for that convenient access. But also the loss of opportunities. We have 2-lane roads on 114 with little development right now that will be developed with this 4-lane roads and the opportunities for businesses to come. So there's lots of economic impact that's going to be directly related as well. Here's this is the truth. We're behind the 8 ball already. This is a $2 million package of a probably $400 to $500 million package that needs to be done. I personally have heard statistics that we're going to be a 350,000 population community by the year 2040. In 2040, we're going to have 350,000 people here is what they're expecting. That does not include tech students. When you talk about that kind of growth, we've got to get ahead of the game. This is a proposition that's going to benefit our citizens, our businesses, our neighborhoods, our children's safety. There's just no denying it. We've got to get out there and vote. Early voting is Monday. We need to get out there and start voting on Monday. I can't emphasize more the safety, the convenience, and the opportunity, and that's what I want to close with. And we'll open up for Q&A for the media in regards to this. And I'm going to invite Heather to come up here as well. But we'll take some Q&A for anybody that has any. And Dan as well. Thank you.
Don't make me ask the question.
Heather, come over here next to me. I feel safer when you're next to me. Dan, you too.
Heather was on the committee that recommended the projects and has all the history.
This might be a question for Heather. There's been criticism from a select few people in the community that have said that, well, Central Lubbock is being ignored. Everything's outside the loop. How do you justify that?
That's a great question. So when we started the process with the citizen committee, we heard from the city about all the different things that they do in regards to transportation. So one of those things is street maintenance. If you live in the core of Lubbock, you know that the arterials are already built. The need in Central Lubbock really is for maintenance to take care of what we've got, essentially, right? So I think really what it gets to is the diverse needs of the different parts of our community. The arterials that are needed are not in Central Lubbock. They're out on the outskirts of the city. One of our recommendations as a committee was for the council to continue and increase cash appropriations for street maintenance, which is where we felt that money was better served, that we didn't feel that a bond was appropriate to debt fund street maintenance.
Joseph, your association had some arguments as to the roadways in Lubbock damaging city equipment, vehicles and that sort of thing. Do you have any examples of that and why this is important to you guys?
Well, absolutely. So there.
Come up to the mic so they can see you.
Excuse me. Absolutely. That's a great question. So as obviously we respond to emergencies around town, you know, if a road, you know, there are some unpaved roads around town that we have to get access to, and you know, it beats our equipment to death as well as the people riding that equipment. It slows our response, and so as you can tell, it's paramount that this gets addressed.
And how can the folks be assured that their $16 a year for the next 5 years or so make sure that all of that goes to these projects?
That's a great question too. Part of our recommendation as the committee and what council listened to, they wrote the bond language with those assurances built in that none of this money can be spent on any other project until that entire list of projects is complete. And even on top of that, if there is money remaining once the projects are complete, then it has to go back to city council for approval of a like project. So that can happen in the public forum so that people would know what would be happening with any remaining money.
Is there any concern with price fluctuations that we're going through that there's not enough money in this $200 million to address all of those roadways?
Yeah, so part of the cost estimates, when you pass a bond, you're required to accomplish what's on the bond, right? So when we prepared the cost estimates, we did with that in mind. So there's 3 levels of conservatism built in. We use the most recent construction cost estimates, or construction bids actually, which we all know prices are up right now. So the cost of the projects that you see in the list are conservative. Additionally, the city and their financial advisor assumed a much lower than what we've experienced growth rate in the city of Lubbock, and they also assumed higher interest rates. So there's those 3 levels of conservatism that were all put in there with the mind to make sure that we can accomplish the entire list.
I'll make one more comment in regards to my comment earlier about being behind the 8 ball, is that our last road bond was 13 years ago. And if we're not able to be successful with this proposition for our roads right now, we're unable to use those or put these roads back onto a bond for 3 more years. So traditionally 13 years is already too long. So if you do the math, you can just see how far we're back. And if we don't get it done on this election, then it's just going to put us that much further behind.
There might be some perception that this is just a rinse and repeat of the last bond election that we had last year, but that's simply not the case, right?
It's definitely not the case. So first thing we did as a bond committee was to look at the last bond package and to also ask the questions, what were the lessons that we learned? What could we do better? Then we took the projects after learning about all the different investments that are being made in the city of Lubbock. And by the way, that's not just the city, that's also Lubbock County and TxDOT. And basically looking at that whole picture, we were able to figure out what the true needs were, and felt really great. We had, for instance, one of our District 1 committee members felt very strongly about a project that's badly needed in District 5. So I felt really good that the committee, who is made up of citizens from all parts of our city, picked out the largest needs that are facing us right now. It definitely wasn't, there weren't any pet projects, there weren't any wants. This is all just helping us catch up. So I feel like this is a list that we hope that the public can support and know that these are needs facing our community for very important reasons.